Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I have a few things to report today. Let's start with something positive. I had to go to Guildford today, and I ended up somehow in Burger King, which I fucking hate. I don't do McDonald's. I don't do Burger King. I try and stay away from, just junk food. Really, I try to, and that was probably the first. I think that's the first time I've been in Burger King. Well, since probably 2013. Obviously, I couldn't go to Burger King in prison, but yeah, anyway, that's by the by. So I've ordered some food and I'm just collecting it. And a guy with a sort of probably about a 5-year-old little boy walks up to me and he goes, "Excuse me, I just wanted to say I saw your podcast with Sean Atwood. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, he said, I hope that everything goes really well for you." So that was really nice, and I chatted to him for probably a minute. He asked me kind of what my plans were, and I explained that I'm not exactly 100% sure what they are, but I obviously talked a little bit about the book, and yeah, that was just really nice of him to do that, and well, yeah, I was surprised, and who would have thought that would happen in Burger King or anywhere, to be honest. But it was nice that I got some positive feedback face to face, and I appreciate that. So it's really nice of him. So on the other side of things, one or two of you may have seen my little rant about a certain follower who is no longer allowed to follow me, although she probably still does. I know she has quite a few fake accounts. I've managed to block 4 accounts of hers. And the more I mention her to people, the more it comes out of the woodwork that she has been trolling quite a lot of followers of my TikTok, and she badmouthed me on I think it was Sean Atwood's live YouTube after the podcast went out last Sunday. Her name, one of her usernames is XTina. One of them is XTina with the number 2 afterwards. There's a couple of like anonymous ones that obviously she probably goes to work with, I expect. And you like what she said about me and what she said in other places I've heard about me in the last week or so, is that the reason I blocked her was because I kept asking her for money, and she wasn't forthcoming. So apparently I spat my dummy out and blocked her. That's complete bullshit. I've never spoken to this woman. I've never asked her or anybody else for money or anything. Those of you that have very kindly contributed to my GoFundMe for the book, you've all done so of your own volition. I've not asked anyone for anything. I'm not like that. I'm actually stubbornly proud about asking anyone for anything. I think if you've watched some of my videos from sort of over the last few months, I mention that it's just one of my kind of default settings. I don't ask people for things even when I'm desperate. Anyway, I'd just like to clarify that it's completely untrue what she has said, and I don't care how she defends me calling her a liar. She trolls people, so for most of my followers, and certainly for me. That's all I need to know about her. And you think, you know, this is a woman in her, I think, late 60s, and I, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, when are you going to grow up? Let us know when that's going to happen, please. Or don't let me know, because you won't get anything from me. But so I guess this video will go on TikTok and YouTube. And I have absolutely no doubt that it'll ring bells with more and more people, because it seems to me that this is ex-Tina's full-time hobby, which is a real shame. I have no sympathy for her, though. I just think, you're out of my life now. Stay out of my life. I'm sure that she will set up some more fake accounts and probably start doing what she does again. You know, you kind of think, why don't you experiment with getting yourself a life? But there you go. What can you do? I found something quite interesting going through my paperwork for the Belmarsh book. And this isn't actually anything to do with Belmarsh, but some of you already know that when I was in Onley during the first lockdown, me and a friend who we both had connections through family to the NHS, so we decided to try and get a half marathon going, sponsored, to raise some money for the NHS, for those people that were heroes. They're still my heroes, but at the time it was kind of, you know, at its sort of zenith, and rightly so. So after I ran, first of all, the governor of the prison vetoed our proposal to do this half marathon. There was only about 5 or 6 of us doing it. You didn't need huge numbers. It was all about getting sponsored to do it. And we just wanted to do it. And so the governor, for whatever reason, said no. He then changed his mind a couple of weeks later. And again, you can hypothesize about why, but I try not to be biased, but I kind of tended to think at the time that maybe he saw it as a little bit of a PR coup for him and the prison in general, but mostly for him. As the governor, they're always looking for little feathers for their caps. So we did the half marathon, and I've actually got afterwards, it was May the 21st, 2020, and I wrote this kind of account of my day. It was lockdown, there wasn't a lot to do. I was, yeah, why not? I wanted to do that for various reasons. I never thought I'd use it for this purpose, but so here we go. I'm going to just read it to you. And you can see what you think of what we did. I got up at 6:30 because I woke up at 6:10 and I knew I wasn't getting back to sleep. Had my preparation all written down. Eat oats immediately, take my meds, have a shower, take one of my prescribed antacids, take 2 ibuprofen, put on my necklace with my Ellie pendant for luck and motivation. Then it was drink my energy drink when my door was opened. I've got to say, drinking an energy drink was not a good idea, because you just go and then boof. So I made a bit of a mistake there. 8:45, run started, and Smithy, who was one of the gym screws, and Dylan moved ahead of me right away. I was just focused on staying at my chosen 1 hour 55 pace. The first 10 laps I was bang on. Between laps 10 and 20 I passed Dylan, but Smithy was nearly 3/4 of a lap ahead. I started to feel blisters by lap 15, but apart from that, I was pretty comfortable with a steady rhythm. After 20 laps, I was slightly behind my 1 hour 55 pace. Laps 20 to 30, I don't remember much. The sun was out and the temperature was noticeably rising. The blisters were, and it says here, interesting. I was starting to blow a bit, but by now I'd lapped Westy about 7 times, Dylan 2 or 3 times, and I was reeling in Chris. Between 30 and 40, I went ahead, but I was hurting. I remember I wobbled a couple of times, and I also really wanted to go to sleep. My eyes closed a couple of times, and I genuinely nearly nodded off running. Shit, I do remember that. It's the most bizarre thing. No, that's never happened to me before or since. I literally shut my eyes and nearly fell asleep running, which is strange. On these laps, I was really up and down. Good for a couple of minutes, then running through syrup for a couple. Good again, syrup again. The breathing was heavier, and I have to be honest, I started to worry about my heart. It's funny the stuff that goes through your head when you're under pressure. It's true. Laps 40 to 50 were, and it's written here, fucking hard. I'm a bit gutted really, because I had to stop and walk a couple of times, and one of my 2 targets was not to stop running at all. You have to go with what's real though. I needed some pauses and I took them. I did stay ahead, and by lap 50 I was 2 laps ahead of Chris, maybe 7 or 8 laps ahead of Dylan, and probably 15 ahead of Westy. I completed the 51 laps in 2 hours, 4 minutes and 15 seconds. And I was, and it says here, battered. I was. But after 5 minutes of rest, I was buzzing and over the moon. It meant a massive amount to me to do this for all of the NHS staff. It's actually hard to put into words. From a personal point of view, I kind of needed to do this to prove a few important things to myself as well. A huge bonus too. Chris's GPS on his watch showed that the actual half marathon distance was 45 laps and not 51. That means I did it in roughly 1 hour 48 minutes. At 47, I've got to be pleased with that. If I'm being honest, the run was really tough, much harder than the last one, but I was 31 back then, and that makes a big difference. Will I do it again? Well, if you'd asked me between laps 35 and 52, I'd have told you to fuck off. And I did think about it at the time. But now, 4.5 hours after the finish, yeah, I want to do it every year for the NHS. Got back to my cell, spoke to my daughter, and then looked at my feet. They're in a bit of a sorry state. I've got a massive blister on the soles of both of them, plus 3 black toenails on the left and 3 on the right. My legs feel pretty decent. I had a bit of a cry in the shower, stress relief and happiness for what we achieved. I'm a bit tired now, but I have happy endorphins, and I'm chuffed to bits that we raised over £800 for the NHS. I might lose some toenails, but I've got others, and it was well worth it. I did lose 6 toenails about a week and a half after the run, but yeah, it was definitely worth it. Then essentially it's saying that I was congratulated at my door by a few people after the run. I was still technically in isolation when we did the run, so there weren't many people who were allowed to come anywhere near those doors. 1 or 2 members of staff popped up to say hello, which was nice of them, and 1 or 2 other guys on my sort of clinically vulnerable landing. So it was really good, and Oh, here we go. The last final bit. 7:30 p.m. My toes are in bits. The insides of my thighs are chafed. My right hip flexor is sore. My blisters are sore and weeping. And I've put well worth it though again. So Friday, 7:50 a.m. This was the next morning. I had 2.5 hours sleep. And I put that down to coffee, adrenaline, Red Bull. My feet, my quads, my calves, my traps were hurting, my abs were hurting, my lungs and my shoulders all in pain. The mad thing is, I didn't stick with doing this every year, but I did do it the next year on World Nurses Day, and I was still in Onley. I did it in 1 hour, 58 minutes and 15 seconds the second time, and we measured it properly. I never had any problems at all. I was not in pain. I didn't lose any fucking toenails. Everything was fine. I probably trained a bit better for it. I actually did a full half marathon in the exercise yard about 3 weeks before the actual sponsored event, and I measured it all out in the yard. It was 80 meters round, which is quite small. You know, you're basically just constantly turning. I did 260 laps of that yard in exactly 2 hours. And then I berated myself for being ready to do the actual run far too early, 3 or 4 weeks before we were due to do it. But you never know, I might do it again. World Nurses Day is in May, so we'll see. Have a great Saturday, everybody. And yeah, be careful of ex-Tina. That's what I would say. She doesn't seem to be a very nice person. Adios, amigos.